Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure and you're watching Transport Fever with a train going on here. This is actually calling into the freight hub in just a moment, having come out of Krakow with a partial load of food, which is great because that's keeps things moving, and it's a profitable service. The only problem with it is not very quick, but we'll worry about that in the fullness of time because that's going to require a little bit of expense to resolve. Now, today's episode this is the second take of today's episode because, like a complete Charlie, I didn't check to make sure the video was actually recording first time around. It was really good. It worked out very well. We got quite a bit done, so I'm going to do it again. Stick around and you'll probably watch that happen. Well, there's nothing finer than watching two fully loaded goods trains heading into the station, and these aren't both fully loaded, so there's nothing better than watching one fully loaded and one partially loaded goods train pulling into the freight hub here. But that is not going to be our focus of today. I picked it largely because who doesn't like a purple train? Anyway, Krakow is where we're going to kick off today's escapade, because the aim is going to be to connect up Indianapolis. Sad Indianapolis that has so far been neglected by my industrial expansion. That's a word. Now, we are profitable, so I'm hoping to fund this all out of my own bank account, but this is going to result in cutting a couple of corners, and none bigger than getting from Krakow to Indianapolis. The route that we're hoping to do here is Krakow, Indy, and then Sioux Falls. So it'll be, something like this. Right, and then that will allow expansion further out from that. But my aim is going to be to complete the Sioux Falls all route approach that we started off with before the end of the Age of Steam, so that we may see an entire collection of steam trains going in and out of Sioux Falls, which is the reason we use pork barrels in the first place. So, if we look at Krakow here, now, I mean, it's coming on. We've got a bit of commuting happening, not a great deal, but, I mean, how many are you packing there? 24. That's good enough for a relatively early service. But we also created this spur specifically to head out to Indianapolis there. Now, the challenge we've got is that we've got this goods line in the way, and actually, that's going to be our saviour initially, because getting some kind of bridge across, there we go, there's some kind of bridge, 3 million, right? That's no help. But we do already have a rail bridge, it's just being used by a goods train. So to keep things relatively cheap initially, we're going to make use of that to link up with the passenger station. Later on, we'll expand it out and it can have its own bridge, or maybe we redevelop the bridge to handle both goods and passengers alike. And that'll be quite exciting. So the first thing we want to do is create a quick spur off here. Go on. Do you want to connect in a way that is nice? No, you want me to have another go at that? All right. Okay. Well, I'm amenable. Let's try from about there. That looks a bit better. Doesn't look a lot better though, does it? How about here? That again. It's not. It's not great, but it's good enough. Given that this is a temporary measure, that's good enough to accomplish what we need today. So basically, what that means is that the bridge there is going to be supporting multiple trains, both the goods and the passenger service that I'm going to set up coming in and out of Krakow, and that's okay. I do like a bit of queuing, as you know. Right, let's put a signal on there. Now, the rule is going to be no signals on the bridge itself for obvious reasons. Those obvious reasons, in case you need them spelling out, are it won't work. The whole thing will come grinding to a halt if I stick a signal on the bridge anywhere. So next we need to get over to Indianapolis. Now, the best placement for that is going to depend on where we stick the station. Now, I've done this already, okay, so I already know exactly how I'm going to resolve the problem, but I'm going to do my best to make it sound like I'm figuring it out as I go. Well, now then, if I had all the money in the world, I'd probably dig out the centre of Indy and put the station in there, because we know that That's kind of prime real estate for getting a healthy amount of passenger traffic early on. However, that's not going to work for us this time. We're going to instead, we'll go with a little 240, and then do we want end street connections as well? I think we probably do. No, actually, this is only going to be a temporary station. It's going to need some expansion later on. Let's keep it nice and narrow, and then let's make it dead curvy, because this will come as no surprise at all. Let's decrease the street length a touch. How's that look? That's maybe a little better. And then we want a Main Street connection. Thank you. So the Sioux Falls route is going to come in this way. Now it's got a challenge ahead of it, and we're going to get to that in a minute, assuming that I can do this as efficiently as I did in my what I shall call the trial run. And then it will head out that way. There you go. See, look, that's more or less as we want it. We need to bend this round a little more. It's just not quite at an angle that works. So maybe I've got too much benditure going on there. If we decrease the bend on B, yes, maybe. So what we want is something like. So if we line that up, I'm going to try and do this better than I did in the aforementioned trial run. If we place there, what does that do for our... it doesn't do us any favours. We maybe need to even place down here. That might work. Okay, I'm already off piste now. I'm doing something completely different to what I've already figured out. Okay, right. We'll place in there. That looks workable. As mentioned, we're going to change it up later on anyway, but for now, that will do nicely. Right, so the game doesn't yell at me. We'll line in a bit of road, and then we'll continue a bit of track here. Now then, so we're going to head out to connect to the bridge, and it's going to create a bit of a swan neck in doing so, but it should be, as long as I pay some attention to the speed that I'm dropping to, it should still work out just fine. 50 is about right at the moment, and 50 won't be anywhere near fast enough later on when we start to think about doing this in an efficient fashion rather than, well, I guess this is a money efficient fashion. Later on we'll do a speed and effectiveness efficiency approach. Okay, we've got a bit more of a slowdown on the way back, but that's not beyond the realms of reasonableness, which apparently is a word I'm using. Right, okay, so we'll go through this little rise here, which is not cheap. It isn't cheap. Yeah, I mean it's a nice looking tunnel. And again, we'll probably single track that for the time being, because we're not going to be running enough passenger trains to warrant double tracking everywhere. But the half the reason that this series is referred to as Metropolis is that we want a fully metropolitan style frequency of service once we get a little bit further along. But the pork barrels are being employed, as you know already, in order to get us a goodly amount of steam traffic going. Because you just don't get enough early progress, by and large, to build up a massive steam network. You end up having to wait a little. Right, there we go. This is looking all right. Right, let's put a bang signal in there. That should do just the job. And if I limit the number of signals here, which is, again, it's not really like me, but if I limit the number of signals, this will actually help on the spacing side of things, reducing the number of blocks. Because obviously I shall deploy all my trains in one go. Right, there we go. That was relatively painless. So let's crack off Indianapolis hooked up there, looking jolly good. Looking reasonably good. And then we shall figure out the Sioux Falls equation. Now, the reason that this is difficult in any way at all is because we've got this kind of micro mountain range here, which is tall enough that you wouldn't want to go over the top. But at the same time, you've got this bit of track that is servicing our goods hub, and we don't want to go over the top of that. We want to either go over or under it. Now I mean, if we just do a relatively straightforward price check here, so if we do one of those, 1.8 million, it takes us over the top of the track. And then through the mountain. Now, if I don't want to go over the top of the track, the solution is to go under it. At which point you can see already the pricing is pretty extensive, and if that weren't enough, it doesn't even work. Okay, so yeah, okay, we're still in a good, and it's still on a good line here. And then if we back it up a little bit more, probably as far as here. Right, so that's a 2 million quid tunnel you've got going on there. In fact, let's take it all the way to the station, because that will allow us to gentlefy the curve that I'm about to stick in. So going under, so all the way under is 4 million. I don't want to spend that kind of money, but there is a plan B, which is to go over and then through. And we're going to need a little bit more run up to make that happen. So over and then through, we're going to come from about here, I suppose. No, that's too far. About there. Right. Again, we'll take it all the way to the station. Or, no, we'll take it 3/4 of the way to the station. So if we go up, there you go. Right, so for 1.68 million instead of 2 million plus, we've got ourselves a bridge initially. Followed by a tunnel. Yeah, see, go through the tunnel at mid-height, and you do less tunneling. Now it means you get a bit of an embankment coming out the other side, but that's pretty cheap by comparison. So I went through quite a lot of bridge options when I did this originally, and you know there's some really nice stuff in the viaduct system, but where I ended up, perhaps unexpectedly, was with not that one, or in fact that one. We ended up with no. Where is it? No, I found it. See, I can't find it now. This one. Here we go. So this is actually quite a fast wooden bridge because it's heavily reinforced. There's enough space for the existing service to get underneath it, and it just looks. It looks really fitting for being based out of North America. So that's the way we're going to go with that. Beautiful. Right, and then we'll run this up to our spur coming out of Sioux Falls. Let's delete that back a bit because the shape of the curve is going to be slightly different. And because this is nice and flat, that's a cheap bit of track, but I want to just check which way we're lined up here. Oh, well, that can go for either platform at that angle, so that's fine. And sold. Right, so we can either do the same again and make that single track, which is probably the smarter thing to do. But when have I ever defaulted to doing the smart thing? Let's just link this up before we continue. There we go. Beautiful. Right, so we know for a fact that it's going to cost me maybe 20-25 to do to single track this, but I'm going to get a price check on the double track. So we're looking at another 800,000. It means I won't have to play with it again. No, let's save the money. We'll save the money and we'll single track it. That's the more prudent course of action, I think. So if we come up as far as about there and then work that onto a single track, and you can see the savings are quite a bit. Instead of 900,000, we're spending 15, 16. And then we'll do the same coming off there as well, while keeping the speed up. And we are golden. Right, smashing. So a bit of signal action on here should be fine. Now, this should allow me to run 2 trains on the 3-stop route that is Sioux Falls, Indianapolis, Krakow. Now we're treating this as having originated in Krakow, because it's high time we started employing a few European services up in here, and that will bring us on to our mod of the day relatively quickly. But before we crack on, I just wanted to crack off. There you go. Yeah, there's some Polish humour there of some description. Here we go. This is the station as it is right now. So we basically run 3 different lines in and out of Sioux Falls, and remember we want to run all 8. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, right? We want to run all 8 lines, so all 8 platforms are going to be used. Now, some of these will be almost duplicate in nature, in that they will... what's the word I'm looking for here? Is that they'll run the same lines, but with fewer stops, so they'll be express services, effectively. But we do have more to do. So the existing North American main line, so yellow... we'll need another one of those that is maybe a little more selective in where it stops, or maybe it branches. Don't know, TBC. Same with red here, but we haven't really developed the red line yet to great effect. We've got much further we can go with that. That will be our next stop, because that will be the development of El Paso. And then we've got this double line here that is completely unused at the moment, which is currently kind of pointing in the general direction of Krakow, but it could end up going anywhere. But this is probably going to be my big fast continental out to Shanghai, or maybe it's Barcelona it heads to. We'll figure that out. And then finally, the last one is the one we've just done. Let's get that plumbed in now, and that is going to be from Sioux Falls to Indianapolis to Krakow and back the other way. So we want to make sure that it's got a relatively good turnaround, but this is the transcontinental. Hold on, we'll call this the Sioux Falls. No, we'll call this the Krakow. There, see, yeah, Krakow transcontinental. Given that it crosses a significant portion of the North American continent, use as many air quotes as you feel are necessary to make this make any sense. But yeah, that should work out just dandy. Platform 1, platform 2. Yep, we're all fine here. Right, let's put a train on it, shall we? Right, into the depot, and it's going to be used Depot 1. Now, I have added some more mods to the collection here, both train mods. I've added all of JK's GWR collection, the Great Western collection, because it just felt that they all sat together. So that's about 6 or 7 mods in total. But that gives me the option to use the Duke here, which is 50 miles an hour, making it the fastest thing we have available right now. And that's why we're going to buy 2 of them. Then we get the clerestory coach in here as well. So we've got, we'll go with 1, 2, 3 of those, and then 1 brake car on the end of it. Because why not? If it's got a brake van, you might as well get it going. Can I afford to duplicate it? Not at the present time, but I surely will do in the full before moments have passed. We'll see how much we come up short, and then we will plumb this onto the Krakow Transcontinental. Activate. Felt like it activated to me. Right, we won't need to wait too long to have the cash to get a second one, but meanwhile it will do a bit of spacing, and we'll get to watch this emerge from the depot for the first time. Now, this is going to look a little weird later on, because European and particularly British trains are slightly smaller than their American counterparts, but it's still going to represent a good amount of diversity of loco coming in and out of the Sioux Falls main station. There you go. This is quite the view we've got going on there. And I know not everybody is a fan of the kind of the dusty the dusty plains of the North American default map, but once in a while I quite like it. You know, the green grass is arguably more pretty to look at, but I quite like the Spartan nature of this, and I hope you are digging as much as I am the kernel cam we've got going on here, because it's quite nice. I'll follow. You know what? I could follow this along for the next 45 minutes. I don't think anybody would complain too much. It's getting away. There you go. One notch of zoom out, and we overtake dramatically. It's good. And we'll do one notch of zoom in. Look at that. That is what you paid your money for. Arguably, you paid your money to get hold of the game, but excellent. Provide my own sound effects. We're going to follow this as far as the tunnel, because, well, why wouldn't you, frankly? Come on, there you go. Just get ahead of it a little bit. So this is it merging onto the bridge now. I would say that's possibly a little too close up to get the full effect. But this isn't bad in the slightest. So this is now the fastest train that we have anywhere on the network, and see, look, that's done without being a roller coaster, and it solved the problem. So there you go. That's in full motion now. Let's go and make it a friend. Back to the depot, because just one train on there is not going to cut it. We're going to need two. So steam of the loco, and there we go. We'll have one of those. Passenger. We'll go with three of these. 1, 2, 3, and one of those, like so. And that's the benefit of actually being in profit now, is that I don't have to hang around too long. I'm making enough money that this all works. Right, let's go and see where we're up to. So we're coming up on Indianapolis now. Now, Indy's going to require a bit of commuting action, and we'll get to that in a sec. I just want to follow this on its first route, really, because it's great, and therefore you would want to follow it on its first route. Lovely. And the whistle is arguably the primary reason why you want this in your collection in the first place. It's distinctive, and it really does add quite a lot to the overall ambiance. That's my take, and I'm sitting with it. You know, I'm quite taken with the Great Western whistle that is being employed. We'll continue following it along, and we'll see what happens when we get to the shared bridge. Now, I'm a fan of queuing when it comes to trains and bridges and signals and so forth, because it just makes it feel a little bit busier. Now, I mean, there's nothing to stop you, of course, deploying 500 trains all on one route and making it ridiculously busy. But if you're playing with the economy turned on, it doesn't make any sense, because you'll be running most stuff largely empty. There you go. Coming out the other end. Lovely. So yes, so I mean, it's half the purpose of this series is to try and build up as dense a network as possible, in order to ensure that you do actually have some waiting. There we go. We're going to get exactly what I hoped for. So that you do have to wait once in a while, and you get a good passing shot like this one. There you go. That's you know, that's Europe meets America going on right there. Of course, Europe has to wait. You could suggest that might be a political statement. I really wouldn't have any idea what I was implying or inferring there, because I wasn't. Right, there we go. Another nice shot. This thing is just full of nice shots. I can't help myself. Nice shots as far as the eye can see. Right, let's go and make sure the second one has got out without an issue. There we go, there it is now. So, let's turn our attention to Indianapolis. First things first. We're going to need to drag in a few extra passengers to make this route take off, or rather to make the town take off. And as much as that station is not long for the world, it's going to be superseded later on, we still want to still want to drive the passengers to it, because otherwise there's no point in upgrading it if you're not getting the throughput of traffic. Now, I'll often run a little road like that through one of these big blocks, because what we don't want is just to have a ton of space sat in the middle with nothing really going on there. But I am a fan, as you know, of mirroring the curve of the track so that we can get a goodly amount of town built up around it. And then, I mean, if you look at towns anyway, they do tend to have quite a lot of stuff kind of directly alongside any rail connections they've got going on. So I see that as my homage to semi-realism. There you go. We're a homage channel now, apparently. Right, let's bedoink that over there, and then we'll bring some kind of gentle. No. Let's keep it parallel with the other one. That's nice. I like that. Now, if I'm very lucky, I might be able to squeak a road in here. Of course, when have I ever been very lucky when it came to squeaking roads? It is Ms. Miggins who tends to have things to say about luck. Although, by this point, she is probably more seeing it as some kind of vendetta by the gods. Go on, I'm sure we can get a road in here. Look, I'm barely touching anything. I don't want to remove the building. Don't want to. It's not going to happen. I want to get out of there clean. That's good. Yeah. That's going to work. It's going to work. Totally going to work. All right, hold on. Let's get to the point where it was working. Go on. Right, working. And come on. Look, this is going to look amazing. If I can get this in without any more fuss, this is going to be the snuggiest build you've ever come across. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to... Yeah, okay, right. Well, that's not good enough. What if we were to just use a small bit of road here? Well, it just looks rubbish. It does a bit, doesn't it? But we could just do the small bit of road as far as there, maybe, and then go back for the big bit of road again. There you go. Why not? Something of an hourglass, a chicane of some description. The local boy racers will cherish it, I'm sure. And then, as before, we're going to run another road up through the centre of there, purely so that we can maximise the amount of city building that occurs in between. And that, of course, has led me to go, oh, I wonder if we can get a bit of road through here. And I hope you found it compelling last time, because we're now doing it again. Oh, hold on. That's easy. Okay, good. Bit of a curve, but that's all right too. Right, smashing. That's looking all right. Now then, can we get another bit of road here? Because what I've decided is that Indianapolis will be our North American tram city. I plan to have a tram city for Europe. I prefer the buses over trams, and that's purely practical. It's less faff to set up, and they do tend to be a little more profitable. But I'm going to do at least one city that is fully trammed up for Europe, and another one for North America. And Indianapolis has received the nod. So let's get some tram. Yep, we've got electrification on. That's good. Let's get all this plumbed in. All right, fine. Spend the money twice. See if I care. Get all of that trammed up, and then, because we're optimistic, we shall over tram this and see if we can't generate a little bit of positive growth. Now, normally I might endeavour to create some kind of connection over to the other side of the town, and to be honest, I'm feeling quite normal, so I might do that as well, just so that we get growth on both sides of the town while we can. So if we now tell that to do a bit of electrification of a tram track, we'll even do a level crossing rather than a bridge, because that's the kind of mood I'm in. Right. Come on, just go perpendicular. bisect, man, bisect. Right, now then, let's... That's not perpendicular in the slightest. Right, okay, and then over this way, and pull out a little bit here, and do a bit of that. Now, I won't put a tram connection on here yet, on this side, but we will do eventually, I'm sure. So let's go with a whacking great tram station, because if this all pays off, then later on it's going to warrant having a goodly amount of capacity. Although it looks like I'm going to have to sacrifice a fair amount of space to get, although will it go in there? No, it won't. Alright, well, we'll do it here. Here you go. Just wiggle it a little. That should do it. Right. And then we'll have another full-size tram station at the other end of town. Because I'm committing to this, we're not half measuring the tram setup here. We're going full bore. We're believers that trams are indeed the future of Indianapolis's internal connectivity. Right, now then, if we quickly look at where... I don't need that. Quickly look at the connectivity we've got already. So this block here and a little bit of those guys have already got access to the station. And it's pretty much the same block that has access to that bus depot, tram depot, station, tram station as well. Now, I'm okay with a little bit of overlap, because as the density picks up, you do find you'll get people who are lazy enough to want to catch a bit of public transport rather than walk. I think I built those in the wrong place, you know. Let's move them. Let's go down to this junction instead. Now, that's got a fair amount of duplicate coverage, but as the town grows, that should service an entirely different area. Right, so we come out of the halt here, and we come around the corner. Now I'm going to stick another set in the exact centre of town, or well, just off the centre of town, in order to give people the option of catching a tram rather than walking it. There you go. That should do the trick. Let's grab a line and stick this in place and go. Give me a colour I can see. Red. Red's a colour we can all see. There we go. Up to the halt, and then Central Street and William Street, and then back that way. I would have gone round the end, if I'm honest. But you can do as you see fit, and then obviously we'll double back on ourselves. That way we can hit up everybody no matter which direction they're going in. Okay, that looks all right. If I pulled Church Street down there, yeah, let's do that. Right, and then we'll stick it here instead. See, that just feels like a nicer route. William Street, I don't think we've got a choice, but that's okay. Right, now then, we need a name for this route. And I already have one. Fitted out. This is the Indy, yes, Electro Trolley. Because who is not going to want to ride on the Electro Trolley? I mean, it just sounds like your Buck Rogers or some forth, and frankly, people are just going to be lining up around the block to kind of go, I want to go on the Electro Trolley. Right, quick Tram Depot, and we'll stick that over here. Get some, or will we? No, let's stick it over the other side of the track. Or will we? No, we won't. We'll stick it here. Right, there we go. Momentary indecision there, but everything's fine now. And a bit of that. Right, let's deploy the trams. Now, we've got the San Diego trolley here, which I don't think I've ever used. So we'll go with 5 of those. To get us underway. Set line, new line. No, not a new line. Set line on to the Indy Electro Trolley, please. Have I missed a bit of electrification? Okay, well I've missed something, evidently. Yeah, all right. Let's. I must have missed a bit of tram track or missed a bit of electrification or something. So if we kill that line off, we'll see where we've possibly missed a bit. Could be here, I suppose. Let's do that. Let's get this covered as well, and this as well. Oh, it's because the stops aren't electrified. There we go. That would be it. Upgrade, please. Electric. Thank you. There you go. Good. Identified the problem quite cleanly. Sorted it out quite quickly. Everybody's happy. This should now activate. Smashing. Good. Right. Well, I was worried there for a moment that this wasn't going to work, and I'd built this magnificent route for no real purpose. But here we go. Here's the electro trolley fleet rolling out, and they're really quite cute. Wouldn't look out of place in one of my theme parks. I don't know. Maybe if you had a flamethrower on the front of it or some such. I don't know why this one just stopped at the junction, but it decided to anyway. Very nice. And to be honest, it's not going to get much better than this as a shot. This is going to work quite nicely. Now, it might be a bit odd having a Duke class Great Western coming out of Indianapolis, but it is a Krakow train to start with. Now, it might look a little bit odd having a GWR class locomotive coming in and out of Krakow, but just go with it. All right, this is a fantasy narrative that we're spinning here, and therefore everything is possible. Right, okay, good. So we got our commuter stuff running here. I did buy 5, didn't I? Because I'm only seeing 4. Where's the other one? It's there, look. It was skulking behind a house. And we've got a passenger waiting. No, we've got 3 passengers waiting, all itching to go to Sioux Falls, and that's great stuff. And that will more or less wrap it up for today. To finish off, let's just have a quick look at the leaderboard. If we head in here, see there's trains occurring, and we like it when trains are occurring. Yeah, so if we look at the city's leaderboard as it stands right now, in number 1 is El Paso, which makes total sense to me because it's getting everything that comes out of Sioux Falls, pretty much, and everything that comes out of Detroit. So it's really getting driven quite well. Then you've got Detroit and Grand Junction. Now this makes sense because they are kind of middling towns there. They're in the middle of places. Then we've got Vancouver, Brussels, and Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls is a little bit disappointing, given that it is the original station, but fingers crossed it'll pick up. It'll find its way in the world before too long. Indianapolis, just connected, is actually the second smallest town on the map at the current time, and that will change in due course. If we have a quick look at the routes that we're running, so we do have this bulk freight. Given it's carrying fuel, the second that delivers, that will drop into profit. 307. Oh, well, that's the new line, so that was always going to be unprofitable for a little while. 7-minute turnaround, that's perfectly acceptable as well. What else have we got here? The freight delivery in Krakow, that will pop into profitability if it sneezes like that. And to be honest, we're pretty close on most lines to being in profit. But if we look up at the other end now, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 services that are $1 million plus in profit each year. And that's great because that's going to really help fuel the continued expansion of this network. Let's just have a quick look at the overall financial situation. We ended up 75,000 in profit last year, but when it comes down to it, our cost of operation was around 9 million, lower than the amount we brought in. So I'm pretty confident we can continue in this vein. But that will wrap it up for today. 4 million in the bank. We started with 5. This has worked out very nicely. I've been Colonel Failure. Thank you very much for watching today. We're going to continue with a little more of the same. Where are the Zeppelins? And in the next episode, we're going to continue focusing on Sioux Falls to try and get that finished up. I invite you to subscribe to this series to make sure you don't miss out, and by all means, sling a like at this video if you enjoyed it. I'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheerio!